The year was 2015. Two improvisers and supposed friends in the LA alt comedy scene started a podcast. Not about politics or true crime, but instead about fast food. Now, 10 years later, after force feeding themselves to the top of the charts, both podcast and cholesterol wise, these two denizens of Denny's and arbiters of Arby's have entered a much more lucrative space: comic books. Will this goofy collection of guffaws enter the Golden Plate Club? Is it a drink or a stank, a snack or a whack? Let me be frank. This intro is Unga Pachka. Today on Neighborhood Comics Convo, I'm joined by artist Fred C. Stresing to talk about Doughboys, the comic book.
We need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented. It's a social validation feedback loop.
Swipe right if you love me, and I'll hold you tight. Never sign off of me, don't unsubscribe. Stay with me surely through woke tribe. Digital.
Fred, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to have
Good.
you join me. I think
Yeah.
that at the beginning, it's kind of useful to say that we actually know each other in real life a little bit, which is pretty cool. I don't always get to say that about my guests because you were living in Savannah, Georgia for a while, and we had the privilege of being your comic book shop, which was pretty great.
I've missed the shop immensely, and I keep talking about with Megan, I'm like, we got to get back to Savannah for a visit. We got to get back there. So hopefully the next year or so, we'll see. It's been slammed.
And that's great, though. I'm so glad that you've been busy, and you guys are now up in the Northeast, a complete change of scenery from where you were down here. I'm super excited to have you on today because, of course, not only did I get to know you just as a member of the Savannah community and to have you in the store, but of course, through your comic work and being able to host you for signings and different events over the years. And you and your partner Meg both are working in the industry and doing a ton of really good stuff. And I initially got to know you through probably the Rick and Morty work that you were doing and
Yeah.
still continue to do.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you got into working in licensed comics, and then maybe a little bit specifically about how Rick and Morty came about.
Okay. Yeah. So I graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design, where a lot of different Savannah people and comic creators start. I was doing a little bit of comic work before then. I think the first professional thing I did, and this was just because I knew who knew the guy who was writing it, was I did
That's
lettering.
always how jobs start, by
It
the way.
is,
I tell
though. Oh, it
everybody
is.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. But this was a guy I knew from an old message board, and I'd done some lettering for pitches for him. And he was like, "Hey, we need a letterer for this web comic that's going to be on AMC's website for The Prisoner," which, because this would have been 2009, 8 maybe, I forget. And there was a limited series spin-off of the old Patrick McGoohan Prisoner, sort of a remake type thing that lasted. They were like, it's a limited series event. No one really remembers it. I think Ian McKellen was in it as sort of one of the. Did you ever see The Prisoner?
No, I was trying
Yeah,
to rack my brain about this, and I was like,
yeah.
Prison Break. I remember Prison
No,
Break. That is
this
not
was
what this
The
is.
Prisoner was this odd show from the 60s about an ex-spy who quits, but then he's gassed and sent off to this island with a bunch of other ex-spies. And it's like there's a lot of Lost takes a lot of inspiration from it. A lot of those later shows where they're like, it's kind of this weird place this guy's stuck and it's mysterious and weird, and it's got kind of a quasi-espionage feel, but it's more like this dude said, I'm leaving the British spy business. And then they said, no, you're not. And now he's on an island he can't escape from. So, but it's like a little village. It's called The Village. So they did a remake of this and a webcomic to tie into the remake. And I was brought on to letter that, which was really cool. It was a really cool job. You
It
can't find it
sounds like
online
a really
anymore.
cool. I'm totally going to go look this
Was
up. I'm sure it's out there someplace.
watch the 60s show is what I
Yeah.
say, because it's really interesting. It's one of those 60s shows you watch when you like watch the Twilight Zone or something, and it feels like it's so modern in its sensibilities in a lot of ways. So it's really cool. I didn't watch the AMC one, but so I started with that, went to college, got my degree, and started to get little jobs here and there doing independent comic work, just applying to things I would see on different message boards in different places, while I also was illustrating a uh not quite self-help book, but a book about meditation that has yet to be released. It might still be released. This isn't mine, but who knows? Yeah, it's one of those projects that goes on, and every couple of years we touch base about it. So it's who knows?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's been in the hopper for a minute.
yeah, oh yeah. So, but so I started doing that, and I made my way to licensed comics with I think it was Hello Kitty and Ugly Doll books, which were being drawn at the time by Ian McGinty, who was I was roommates with for a while. Yeah, yeah. So
Greatly missed talent,
yeah,
Ian, who worked on a ton of
so
amazing
much stuff,
books,
so much
both his
stuff.
own and licensed properties,
Hmm.
and really had a very, very fun, expressive style.
Yeah.
Could work on model, but you kind of always knew it was him too, which
Oh,
was pretty
absolutely.
impressive.
That was always fun. Yeah. So we started working together on a lot of projects around that time because he was talking about his editor who was looking for someone. He was drawing Hello Kitty at the time, and he was like, "Oh, I need somebody. I'm not." It was a thing where they needed a new colorist, and I said, "Well, try out some colors for this." And so I started working on that and Ugly Doll with Viz Media, and started getting introduced around to different places through different jobs he would have, which was very nice. I got a lot of work from Boom, being introduced to the editors there. So I did some Adventure Time. I did some of my favorite stuff actually that I did color wise is a couple Roger Langridge books. Back in the day, I did Abigail and the Snowman. I did colors for that, and another one called Baker Street Peculiars, which was
Yeah.
he didn't draw that one. Andy Hirsch drew that one, but Roger wrote it, and it was two of the most fun projects I'd had. And I still look back on those really fondly. I'm like, those were really good. Those were really
It's
good.
really cool. Yeah, not a lot of people get
Yeah,
to say that. I think as an artist, particularly, you're always leveling up and you're always kind of
right.
feel like that next thing is always the best thing,
Yeah,
and I'm sure it is in a lot of ways,
yeah,
but it's really nice to have projects where you can look back and be like,
yeah,
that really turned out well.
yeah. Oh, exactly. It's been super nice to have that sort of hindsight on some of these. I mean, it's a thing I'm trying to tell myself more when I'm overwhelmed with projects is, hey, enjoy what you're in as you're in it as much as you can, because it is you do lose sight of that when you're just like in work mode and you just work, work, work. And it is a joy and a privilege to be able to do things like this for a living. It's really nice. It's like I love it. So it's really nice to have that sort of perspective on it and look back on things. And there's obviously things I look back on not fondly. I think you'll find that with any creative career, just stuff where I go, yeah, I don't look at that one. Yeah, that one
Yeah,
was
no, I
two.
mean,
That one was done in
it's a
two really rough
job.
nights. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes you really are doing it for the
Oh yeah.
money, or life gets in the way and you're up
Oh
against a
yeah.
deadline, and there are a
Or
million
or you're part of a
reasons. But
project and it gets dropped, or you get dropped from the project because things didn't line up. I mean, that is what happens, and it's pretty normal. It's just one of those situations where you try and again, just try and appreciate what you're doing as you're doing it, which I've been doing with the Rick and Mortys and the Doughboys. So to get to Rick and Morty, I got involved with Oni Press after an editor there saw some of my color work, my color portfolio, and brought me on Invader Zim. Because Invader Zim was looking for a new colorist about 12 issues in or so. Up till then, I think it had sort of been artists picking their own colorists and had been sort of shifting around. And they said, we would like to have somebody more consistent so we don't have to keep doing these contracts and we have something they can keep going with. So I got that gig for 4 issues initially. And it went well enough that I ended up working that series till the end of its run, which was really exciting, which is how I started drawing more professionally too. Is I'd had a couple backups here and there in Munchkin and other books like that, and I tried out for drawing for the Invader Zim series because they were looking for a new artist, and it went to Kate Sharon. But they liked my stuff enough; they were like, "We'd love you to do a guest issue." So I said, "Okay, I'll do a guest issue." So I got to do a few different guest issues, and yeah, so that was really cool to do, and they liked those. They said, "Hey, would you like to do some Rick and Morty work?" because we've got these other series going on. I said, I'd love to try that. So I started doing Rick and Morty from there and working with the writer Alex Führer, who this will eventually tie into the Doughboys book. So I started working together on a lot of stuff, and we really clicked on a creative level and a lot of the same comic book touchstones we could talk about in a similar way, like a lot of things that I don't find with a lot of creative partners now, because comics is so vast that
So
finding
broad,
people,
and
it's so,
your
yeah, it's such a broad
age
spectrum.
and the
Yeah.
medium, and there's so many
Oh,
things that
yeah.
get in between, and
Right. But he and
yeah,
I
make it
both
a
have
difficult language. Yeah.
we both have a real interest in the older comics or in old newspaper comics and the old comedy comics and old Mad magazine and stuff like that. So all that was we really connected with in a fun way where we're like this thing and that thing. We would sort of pull all these similar sources and know them without having to go, do you know about this thing? Are you aware of like, this or that? Some of it mainstream, some of it off the mainstream. And it's really been great to work with him on this. So we worked on a lot of Rick and Morty together, which eventually led us to Doughboys. Yeah, Rick and Morty has been really fun though. If you want to talk about that a minute, I'm happy to.
Well, you worked on so many different
Yeah,
lines and miniseries,
yeah,
including the reboot or the
yes,
renumbering, and
yeah.
you've been attached to some of the kind of quintessential pieces of that world building, I feel like.
Yeah, it's been
And
cool.
yeah, working in licensed material, people have lots of different opinions on it. And I know a
They
lot
do.
of that has to do with the licensor, what the
Yeah,
approvals process is like, and how strict you
absolutely.
have to be to certain things. But in general, I think that you have to be happy working with that license because you keep going. You've gone back multiple times.
It's really fun is the thing. The thing about it is there are obviously licensor notes and different things. I remember getting notes on my first issue where they're like, you can't do this, they can't have cigarettes. We can't do this or that. And I go, oh, okay. I don't know you can do this in the show, but you can't in the comic. Okay. I don't know where we're navigating this because it's my first one. I don't know the line yet. But as it went on, I think the thing I found the most fun with it is that I've been able to play with it more than I expected and push the art of it more in a different direction than when I started it, I was super nervous and wanted to stay really on model, like rigidly on model. And now I want them to look, the best way I can think of is on model, but kind of more so, like more how they look when they're moving, to you in your mind's eye. Cause I try to give it a lot of energy and really guide you around the page of a,
What's that kind of elasticity? Kind of like how I was
yeah,
thinking about how Ian would draw things
yeah,
on
that
model
too.
too.
Yeah,
That that's a good way to describe it, that you're kind
yeah,
of pulling from the way that they're animated
yeah,
into exaggerating different features.
right. Because I'm trying to build in that sort of dynamic look to their poses and their actions that if you're going really rigidly on model with these characters, they're going to look kind of stiff. They're going to look kind of puppety, like rig animation puppet, which is the show. But when it moves, you don't notice that. But when it's a comic, I'm like, I really want to make sure pushing that. I think my cat's about to jump up. There he goes.
It's okay. My dog's in here too. She just walked in.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
an interesting thing about the Rick and Morty kind of universe to me
Mhm.
is that so many Savannah connected people have worked on it.
Yes.
So, Jarrett Williams, of course, has
Yeah.
done a ton of stuff in that world with,
He's doing the big series right now with Daniel
yeah,
Kibblesmith. Yeah. Very exciting.
exactly. Jay Oden did the manga for it.
Right.
And so it was really interesting to see, like, all of a sudden these people that were, not necessarily all in the same pod, but they're all getting drawn
Right.
into this universe, which
Yeah.
is pretty wild.
And all of it's very different in styles and approaches too, which I think is really fun. Like you were saying, Jay Oden's the manga is completely different than what I'm doing, and I love it. It's great.
It
Such a
was really
great
cool. They
way.
kind of let him do what he does
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that world. So,
That's been
yeah.
what's nice. I got to do the oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I got to write and draw a miniseries for them, which was really cool. And that one I would call that kind of the breakthrough for how I drew it, where this was Rick and Morty Me Seeks PI, um, which is about Meeseeks, who is a detective, Meeseeks from the Rick and Morty, gets summoned by Jerry, who lost his remote. And he's like, help me find this remote. And it takes him on this weird conspiratorial, road trip through the stars kind of thing, where they accomplish almost nothing. But I got to pull from noir sources and really add some dark shadows, really pull from Frank Miller's Sin City influence in different places, and sort of take it in an artistic place that I was initially concerned with. Are they going to let me do this? Is this going to stray too far from the Rick and Morty models or the Rick and Morty style, I guess? And I wanted to make sure it would all sort of fit in the story I was telling. And they had almost no notes on that. It was great.
Because you were deviating like that, did you just send a couple of sample pages at first? You
Oh yeah.
didn't, or yeah, you weren't going to
Yeah.
go whole hog and then just, so
No,
sorry,
no,
guys.
no. I mean, I will say thankfully the amount of notes I typically get on the Rick and Morty series are really minimal, which is maybe another reason I like working with them so much. But that one it was just playing with like a lot of like lighting and brickwork and weird stuff. And Megan Casey, my partner and frequent colorist collaborator, did an amazing job of pulling some like reds and greens, this sort of weird neon noir, not even neo noir, but neon noir look to things in a book that is like has to be full color, but you want that sort of seedy detective aesthetic. So
And we'll get
yeah.
Megan on a future
Oh
episode for
yeah,
sure,
for sure.
because I love to talk
Oh
to
yeah.
people who really understand how color can make or break a
Right?
story.
Oh yeah.
The greatest inks in the world can be completely obliterated with an inconsistent
Yeah.
palette or
Yeah.
muted tones when they should be more vibrant. I mean, there's really a million ways to destroy somebody's hard work,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and kind of you have to be really singular to elevate
yeah.
it and to
And
see those opportunities.
we've all seen those books that they do the remastered versions of. And not to slam anyone's work in particular, everyone's doing a great job at what they're doing. And sometimes you see it and you go, wow, that's incredible. Like Jose Villarrubia doing the Den and Richard Corbin remasters.
Gosh, what a beautiful, beautiful
Amazing,
addition that is. Yeah.
amazing looking. And some others that I just disagree with.
And
But
I think for some too, especially talking
yeah,
about the remasters, we're now compensating for different paper types,
yeah,
different,
yeah,
finishes on and I
exactly.
do think that can benefit from a fresh set of eyes, especially
Sure.
with
I
stuff
think,
that was printed on newsprint or
right.
70s magazine
Well,
slicks.
another good example is people will probably think of it as a remaster at this point, but the Batman Year One recolors that look amazing. They're so good. And you look at the original issues, you go, well, yeah, it's newsprint. It's the newsprint colors, and they're really good colors choices for that medium. But then you see the sort of I want to say it's gouache. I actually don't know how they colored it.
Yeah, it's been a long time because I just
Richmond
fell in love
Lewis,
with
was it
the
Richmond Lewis?
maybe
I think.
the Mazzucchelli
Yeah.
artist edition for that book
Yes.
is just the one that I always
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that thing. I really want a copy of that artist edition. I have the absolute edition because I'm a big nerd and I wanted to have the newsprint versions next to the recolored versions because it's cool.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
love that
problem with
thing.
that. Well, you mentioned that hooking up with Alex Fire was a
Yeah,
part of the Rick and Morty
right.
experience that really expanded the amount of credits you have, the
Yeah,
amount of books you've got out in the world, it expanded your audience, all that great stuff.
for sure.
I think it was Alex who had the connection to Doughboys as a
Yes.
part of expanding their universe. And before we get too far in the weeds with that collaboration, I'm also
Yeah.
super interested in the publisher, and I'm doing air quotes for people
Oh yeah.
listening, because it's a really interesting kind of like vanity publishing model where
Yeah.
the two big projects I think that they've worked on have been for Doughboys and for Lisa from Blackpink,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild. So tell me a little bit about what you know about kind of how the publishing arm for this was put together, if you have any
Yeah.
insight to
If
that.
I have any, I mean, I'll give you the insights that I do have. So this is the company is 00 Entertainment, and it's run by former Z2 publisher Josh Frankel. So it follows in a lot of ways the Z2 ethos of putting out books based on licensed properties, a lot of music stuff initially, but also kind of like how they did the Weird Al book or Last Podcast on the Left. This sort of takes its cues from that concept to make a series. So I don't know beyond, I mean, the business side of it, I'm not as much involved in,
Yeah,
but
no, but
yeah,
that's cool. I didn't realize
yeah,
that was the same person who had
yes,
guided Z2 through all
yeah,
of those negotiations that they have to do for licensing. And again, I
yeah,
think the music aspect, they really, really honed in on that and
oh
still
yeah,
continue to.
yeah,
So Z2 as a publisher does a lot of really interesting
they
one-off,
really do.
particularly graphic novels, not usually a lot of sequential issues.
No, no. That was one of the
Yeah,
big differences with this was doing it as a series of issues that will be collected, I believe, sometime next year when it's all completed.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
no, it's a series of issues.
yeah, so Alex, I'm guessing, did he pitch this or is this something they
He
came to
did.
him with? Yeah.
He pitched this to Nick Tiger Wiger at a dinner, I believe.
We have to
Yeah,
call him Tiger Wiger,
we
yes.
have to call him Tiger Wiger. It is an adjustment because when I started this, he wasn't yet, but
He was just the burger boy at that
he
point.
was just the burger boy. So yeah, no, so he had a dinner with him and they were talking about different projects they wanted to do and different ideas they had. And Alex being in comics, talking some comics about things he liked doing in that. And the way Alex has told it is Tiger Wiger asked him, "Hey, what would your ultimate project be if you could do like a comic project about anything or a licensed thing? What would that be?" And he goes, "Funny you should mention." And he had a whole concept for a Doughboys comic that he pitched him there. And he went, "That's really interesting. I'd like to let's discuss that." So, and I was already on board like to draw it because I'm just like, this sounds really crazy and fun. We're trying to do, like I said, one of our touchstones are old Mad Magazine and stuff like that. And we really wanted to do something in a fun humor comic style because I don't see a ton of it in very,
So
yeah,
Alex goes in locked and loaded to this
yes,
dinner with Nick,
right?
having already gotten you on board, did you
Well,
already do like any concept
I think
work or?
no, I hadn't done it. No,
Yeah.
it was a thing where he had mentioned this concept to me, like, "Oh, this would be a neat thing," and I go, "Oh, that would be really fun, actually. That'd be like super cool." About that complicated. That was about my initial involvement where I went, "Oh, that would be really fun. Let me know if anything happens with that." So from there, we sent them some of our comics of Rick and Morty so they could see what we do in comics, and they really liked them. And started to pitch it around to various different publishers. And this one felt really tailor-made for what we were doing specifically. Because it is that sort of, and it's such a marketing term, but direct consumer platform where it's like, oh, you can go to this site and send out a comic because a lot of the Doughboys fans are people who probably are bigger podcast fans than they are comic book fans, or like getting into a shop and stuff is, you know, and also, I
Well,
mean, not for nothing,
yeah, this is
everything
probably
going on
a
with
good time
Diamond.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, gosh, that's a whole other conversation. But this is probably a good opportunity for people who aren't familiar with the Doughboys
yeah,
podcast to kind of learn a little bit maybe about the scope of this show.
right.
It is hundreds of episodes deep. It started off with these two LA area improvisers who were in different improv groups, kind of frequenting the same same venues, mutuals, a lot of friends of friends. And as podcasts were, especially about 10 years ago, a lot of improvisers were starting to create these podcasts, because they're great at speaking on the cuff. They have all these funny friends, and a lot of those friends went on to be in TV and movies and stand-ups
Oh
and,
yeah,
and have higher profiles, but they all kept it really kind of close and local and were very supportive of each other. So if you think about podcasts like How Did This Get Made or Comedy Bang Bang, that sort of a world is the
yes,
world in which Doughboys kind of evolved out of. And with these two hosts, they quickly created a very antagonistic relationship on the
yeah,
podcast, which is one of the defining qualities of it. And their niche, which kind of preceding a lot of what we have on YouTube and TikTok now and in the review culture, was going to chain restaurants and reviewing them. And that's such a banal concept because we all know that fast food is basically bad.
Yeah.
But their take
but also
on it,
so good.
yeah, but the idea of finding these things to celebrate about fast food culture, whether it is the working man's lunch of going to Little Caesars, or if it is, the improved worker conditions of certain chains, finding these ways to kind of say, look, we're not telling you to go to Pliable. We're telling you that this is a way that you can, if you're out and about and this is a convenient option. But more importantly than that, it's a chance to get their fun friends on, their funny friends on.
Oh, yeah.
And to riff and to tell stories and to use those improvising skills. So that's what Doughboys is. And in terms of scope and reach, I think it's in the top 20 Patreon podcasts or Patreon subscription entities. So those are people who pay for extra episodes that are paywalled. It's frequently mentioned in Best of the Year comedy roundups for podcasts. And it's just been a really big platform for these two guys to continue to work in the industry, but have a consistent paycheck from sitting around goofing off with their friends and making jokes about their penis sizes. So,
it's a big part of the show.
So that's what Doughboys is. If you haven't listened to that, and they don't need me to plug their show, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. Have been listening to it for many years, and I have very close friendships that literally all our text threads are discussions on what happened in that week's episode.
That's amazing.
And hey, the Reddit is good now, so I also
the Reddit's good. That's what we say.
So that is what Doughboys is. So Alex has this relationship with one of the hosts, pitches this concept of the comic. The former exec for Z2 is doing this new process, and like you said, is kind of focusing on a direct to consumer model. And that is interesting in lots of ways. And I will just say, like, as a comic shop owner, they have been incredibly responsive to me, reaching out and asking, hey, can we carry this in our store? Can we get wholesale copies? Can we whatever? And they sent it right out with like the utmost care, I'm sure, to the same degree that they send it out to all the fans buying the show and the books as well. And I think the comic book was a really inspired choice for them to be kind of, I guess, their first product line outside of merch, like t-shirts and hats, because they always talk about their fan base in a really infantilizing way, infantilizing way. All the men are just stay-at-home man-child who listen to the podcast, and they're all married to rocket scientist, beautiful supermodel women. So doing something really nerdy and hyper-specific, like a comic book, really does fit with the ethos of the show in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was one of the reasons it felt so natural when we were doing it. Obviously it's a story about them not just doing the podcast. Like, if it was just you wouldn't want to see them just do the podcast in a comic.
Could you imagine? It's just two chairs in the studio. I mean, you drew it in like but it's not what all it is at all.
No. So, but and the first issue is just the start where we're gonna start road tripping from place to place. Next issue is Vegas, with, I think I can probably say it, with John Gabris as a guest.
You got to have Gabris in there.
You got to have Gabris in there. So that's been really fun. And other places in future issues, I can say that though. The book's out. We tease it at the end, so it's fine.
Yeah, no. And the 6-issue format is for me anyway, that's always the perfect miniseries length.
Oh yeah.
When you're going with standard issue sizes, it gives you just the right amount to like really sit down and absorb and feel like you have something substantial.
Absolutely.
But for a lot of people who are maybe new to comics and maybe especially current comics and this kind of mini-series format, it's very different than just being able to like binge a whole story at once. There
Yeah.
is a wait, there is time in between the issues dropping and all of that kind of stuff. What was the decision between all of you to kind of do the 6-issue miniseries as opposed to putting out a complete graphic novel at once?
I think a big part of it was the idea of it as sort of a bi-monthly kids club type thing, like a sort of, so it's called the Doughboys Kids Club for Adults. Is the
And the website is brkids.com.
Yes, brkids.com. Yes.
BEOUR.
Yes. So the idea was, oh, we'll package it with a toy. We'll send it out every so often. It'll be a cool thing. And people can subscribe to it or they can get it issue by issue as it comes out. And that has been, I think, really successful as I've understood it. It's really interesting. The decision of not making it a graphic novel, I think, was just so we could start getting it out sooner and putting it out with these different toys, and each month have a new toy that we put out a book. I believe, well, by the time this comes out, I think everyone will know. They are also going to be, there are some toys that you can buy on their own upcoming. I won't say anything beyond that, but they are different toys that come with the comic. So interesting. Yeah.
And you're the toy designer as well, right? Did
I
you
am
do
the toy designer,
turnarounds?
yes.
Yeah.
I did, yes, which is
They're
really
super
fun.
fun. And so the idea is that these
Yes.
little guys are like Happy Meal toys. You know,
Yes.
like it's something you just get in the box. You don't get to pick which one you get, which is super fun. And, you know, for issue 1, there are 2 choices. And then there is everybody's favorite Rat Man, Noid, that is available. And he is only if you pre-order the year, right? Is that the deal for him?
I believe that is the case. There may have been, he might also be a figure that's randomized in
That's
different ones.
randomized.
I'm not positive, but
Me either, obviously. I know he is the chase. I know he's the hard to get one.
Yes, he's the chase figure, but it was one of those where I'm not entirely sure because I know you get him, and I think, you get him with the full year thing for sure. But beyond that, I feel like he's peppered in randomly, but I'm not sure at this point because they sent me a few of all the guys, so I'm like, so I don't know. Do you have the cool yellow box packaging though?
I do have the cool yellow box packaging. And as a retailer, we ordered like 20 copies, right? So, and we wanted to make sure we were not only supporting something I can pretty easily hand sell because I love this stuff, but we always like to support you and because we've got a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And so that's always means we're going to have a bigger order of something.
That really means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. And so we did get the boxes, but we didn't get, of course, 1 box for each comic. So they put 10 comics in a box, a bunch of toys in one of the boxes, and that was perfect. So I got to see them.
Yeah, I didn't get a box, and I'm like, they're really cool boxes. They're really cool.
I'll flatten one out.
I believe the Kids Club logo was designed by the designer of the little logo that they have.
Their little chibi guys, the little
these guys were sort of a riff on that while also incorporating the comic style. So kind of a weird happy medium. Yeah, which was I think the way to go with it. People go, "Oh, Wiger doesn't have that much hair now." I'm like, but he did, and it's very much it's sort of like it's like the other figure. Or it's
and
like
then
the
he
other
had it like it was down his back a year ago. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah.
You can't control the tiger.
It's true.
So I know that you have listened to the show. Of course, you doubled down doing prep for the book and making sure that you were kind of up to date on things. For fans of the book, and maybe it's easier to start with for people who aren't necessarily fans or have listened to the show. Number one, I want to make sure it's completely obvious to people that it is a standalone story. Like, obviously, it's a miniseries, but you don't have to have actually listened to 500 episodes of the show to get what's going on.
Not at all.
There's a really quick but effective world building in the beginning of it, like you would expect for any good comic that you're picking up off the shelf. So if you've been listening to me ramble and you didn't get any of those little puns in my intro, that is okay. You can still pick up this book and enjoy it as a comic. But for people who are into it, there are so many deep cuts and weird little Easter eggs in the backgrounds of some of the scenes. And while I definitely don't want to spoil anything plot wise for people, I think that those little gimmies are super fun. So what were like, did you have a favorite of the little Easter eggs that were either in the script or that you decided to kind of put in there on your own?
Interesting. I'll have to, feels like it was a while ago that I drew the first issue, so I'll have to think about that. I know the Haunted Evil Mickey was really fun to include. I love doing that. Mitch's stairs, which were very fun to do. Oh, I think if there's any more specific and
It's so
in-depth
funny.
ones
All
that
the
jump to
jokes are
mind.
Mitch jokes, right? Like I just
It's a
feel
lot of Mitch jokes. Well, we do have Wiger leaking coolant. There's a tear coming out of his
He
eye,
is a
so we have a
robot.
little bit of robot Wiger. But yeah,
Well, I'll do
I'm gonna thumb through it.
my favorite, which
Yes.
is the framed picture of Unkar Plutt in in Mitch's bedroom.
That one wasn't in the script. That was me.
See, that I knew. I had a feeling that was the 1/4 portion had to be from you.
There were some things I said as we were doing this. I'm like, hey, we need that somewhere in this book. Hey, I want to get that in here. Because that was definitely one of them. I won't say too much more about other ones, but other things I said, oh, we should really put this in somewhere, are showing up in upcoming issues and very fun. But no, I just doodled that in there.
So I love that one. And the other one is not a hidden thing, but I find it so funny in the vignette introducing producer Amelia Moreno, our production assistant. There is an outlet, an electrical outlet, and you can tell she's trying to decide whether to put a electrical cord into the outlet or a fork.
Yes.
Because she is chaos.
Yes. Yes.
So I thought that was very because you're giving so much in this, and I do want to talk specifically about your cartooning style in this, because it is like we were talking about with Rick and Morty, it's very elastic.
Yes.
These are exaggerated, but the way you are incorporating movement in these panels for something that was not previously animated in that way, I feel like you probably drew on a lot of that experience, no pun intended, to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's some really interesting sequences in here around the middle, a little bit after the middle of the book. There's a double page spread that was really challenging that I'm gonna pull it up here, but because I'm a lunatic, I decided to make it so you read it in a Z pattern. So you start at you start where you normally start it, but then you have to follow it down the path. I'll just show it real quick. Starts here, go here, dialogue leads it down through here. And Megan, if you're looking at this, you can see actually she's got a gradiating color scheme in here as well to sort of like suggest what the next panel is. So we go from this yellow to red to this green here at the end, which is a lot of fun. So that was
that, Scott McCloud. Yeah. We don't have to do it the same way every time.
You can lead it in certain directions. I mean, I am also a big proponent of the grid. I love gridded pages, but where's the fun if you can't break it sometimes? There you go. That's one of those
9-panel grids.
Got a few 9-panel grids in here.
The gold standard, famously, or to my favorite usage, Mitch Gerrard's in the Mr. Miracle series he did with Tom King.
Yeah.
Really, not only symbolically, but the way the book is paced through that, I feel like is a real masterpiece. But with the character designs that you did for these guys, and then the world that you're putting them into. So we've got the really cartoony, like I said, kind of elastic Mitch and Nick that are in this. We've got some other characters like the mustachioed cop who also have that kind of silly quality to them. But then there are some really hard-edged design choices with some of these other characters.
Yes.
And What were the challenges of trying to merge those two styles in to feel like a cohesive world?
That was really an interesting challenge. I think a lot of that was drawn out. The script called for, I think you're talking about mainly the sequences with the cops and
Yes.
investigating a grisly murder scene. There's a murder in this book, folks. So maybe more than one. So yeah, we talked a lot about Brubaker and Sean Phillips books. And we were
I
thinking,
love
oh,
this because I feel like that you've described yourself as a fan of noir and in the
yes,
Meeseeks
yeah,
PI
yeah, yeah.
book and Frank Miller. But if you guys haven't sought out the Brubaker Phillips books
Hmm.
from Criminal on through the Reckless series and
Oh, yeah.
everything in between, definitely the masters of the current
Oh, so
pulpy
good.
noir comics.
Yeah.
So good.
I'll also shout out Stray Bullets, which is amazing.
Yeah,
But
David Lapham,
yes,
the way the inks on those pages, the way they balance, it's like these
yeah,
crazy 50-50 weighted
right.
pages that are just gorgeous.
Yeah. So the script called for these ultra serious, hardened, grizzled cops who've had these hard lives, and then a goofy, cartoony weirdo named Officer Cop with a K who shows up, spills fast food everywhere, who's a big Doughboys fan, who also has the hot scientist wife. So,
He is
so
the avatar for the
yes,
reader. We're all like, that would be us in this uniform, in this
yes,
universe. Probably not
yeah,
the cops, but
well, probably, hopefully not, but definitely going for trying to hit the realistic cops with a style that kind of feels like cartoon caricature, but also like so it exists in the world, but also you can see, oh, this is more serious, or I wanted it to feel like it belonged in the world but didn't, but stood out at the same time. It's hard to maybe I'm explaining it wrong, but something where I
no, no,
wanted them
no.
to, yeah,
And I think like if you go back to 60s, 70s cartoons, there
yeah,
would often be that kind of hard smash cut to
yes,
an authority figure, perhaps, that was drawn in a more gritty style. Or even something like
yes,
Ren and Stimpy, like
yeah,
that kind of, they would have those interstitials where
yes,
it would just get
gross up,
really graphic.
yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
gross ups, yeah,
100%.
that was
Uh,
another thing we did talk about.
Well, that's super interesting because between that, just kind of because it doesn't linger really. It's just like,
Mhm.
boom, here it is. And then we're back to silly. And the way the book is colored, how Megan's work in the book helps to unify that
Yeah,
discrepancy as well, I think is super, super fun. And
yeah,
Megan also got to do a 1-page backup at
she
the back of
did,
the book, focusing on all the pets, which is
yes,
Wally and Irma and Jimmy
yep,
from the show, which is so cute. And again, such a throwback to like the old school humor books to have like a
yeah,
1-page gag strip in the back.
yeah. Oh, it's so fun. And she draws it. Let me see if I can she draws such cute animals too for
They
this
are so
gag.
cute.
This was written by Alex, scripted by Alex, but she draws them so cute in this like little world as they're looking for Mitch and Wiger. So it's a lot of fun.
And I love that the style is so different from the rest of the book. It's
Yeah,
exactly for that kind of backup little bonus content. That's what you want. It gives
yeah,
you a different flavor to everything. And how ridiculously cute is it that the pets are out looking for
yeah,
them? It's such a fun little, again, kind of like in that universe, in that world,
yeah,
expanding it a little bit.
yeah. No, we
Well,
were really happy with that.
you got to, of course, work on the book. You're continuing to work on the
Yeah.
book as issues are being completed. In your process right now, which issue are you currently working on?
I'm currently working on issue 3 right now. But I am waiting
So
on final notes for the proof of issue 2.
awesome.
So just
And
tweaking
the
stuff. Yeah.
ideal schedule is bi-monthly. I mean, of
Yes.
course, we live in a world where that doesn't always happen, but
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the
that's
plan.
all. Yeah. And so a year, give or take, to have the story unfold, then eventually be collected.
Yep.
What are the perks for people who, again, maybe not are traditional comic
Mhm.
people? What are the benefits for them to subscribe or to pick up these issues as they come out as opposed to wait for the trade?
So, I mean, the biggest perk, obviously, is these little guys who come with each issue. You get one of them. You don't get to choose, but you do get one of them. And so the toys are kind of the little collectible, most collectible thing. And I know the issues are very limited runs. So if you're into the collectible aspect of it, there's that. They're very, very collectible, sought after things. We just did. This was pretty intense. There was an alpha variant um, put out by them that we all signed. It was all sent around for us to sign, and I think it was over 300 copies of that went out. So there are things like that if you want to jump on that. And I do think that one might have come with a koala too, but I don't want to say if it did or not. I don't want to definitively say. Again, the business side of it, I'm in the creative side of it. I'm not privy to everything going on in the background. But the other thing is the story. Each couple months, you get a new chapter of the story. You get to see some really unique creative art, creative writing. It's a very fun story to see unfold. There's a little bit of a mystery to it. There's a little bit of we're headed somewhere really interesting, I think. So keeping up with it, I hope you do. I think it's very fun, and we're gonna go some interesting, weird places, and it's gonna be really funny and fun. And yeah, no, being able and also supporting a cool, good project like this that printed beautifully. I really love the matte finish on
Is
the
it
cover.
like the quality of the paper that
Yeah,
they chose?
it's
A
really
lot of
nice.
thought and care went
Yes.
into the production side of this too,
I
which
also
is
want to
really
just shout
nice.
out, yes, I also want to shout out really quick our designer, Charlie Edlund, who put together the end papers and laid the
The
whole
end
book out.
papers.
Amazing. Yeah, we got the burger and spoon end papers here, which is pretty fun. So good stuff. But yeah, no, the whole creative team is doing a lot of really good, interesting stuff here. We may even have some guest artists coming up for different sections of things. So we'll see. But yeah, if you like cool comics that are funny, you can support us by checking out a book. I may have some for sale online at some point that I'm signing. I haven't fully decided yet because I've got a convention coming up. So if I have any after that, I might set something up with that. But
You're gonna
yeah,
have to start
so
going to podcast conventions now too, is the
oh
problem. But
boy, are there podcast conventions? There
there
must be.
sure are, my friend.
Oh, wow. Not just like
But
SPX, not SPX. That's a comic one.
like
The
TwitchCon, a lot of
right, right,
podcasters are
right.
there, and I think there's one called
Sketchfest.
anyway,
Yeah, there are a bunch. There are a bunch.
Sketchfest. Come on.
Yeah.
But so I don't want to. I just want you to raise your eyebrows up if we're going to go to Gorko's Planet. Audio listeners, you'll have to check it out
Sorry,
on YouTube.
I should have made a noise.
Yeah, no. I asked specifically for this. We're driving people to the
Well,
YouTube channel right now.
there we go. Fantastic. We'll see. We'll see. I know it doesn't go unmentioned, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, it's already in issue 1. We already
Yes.
get a mention of Gorko's Planet in issue
Yes.
1. That is one of my favorite ongoing bits from the show.
Yes.
That Wiger's time writing on Earth to Ned or whatever that was called.
Yeah. I think it was that.
Which Mitch calls Gorko's Planet.
Yeah.
All right, refocusing and recentering. You're obviously doing a lot more than just this grunt work for the Doughboys. What else is on your plate? What else can people look for Fred
Okay.
Stresing doing down the road coming up?
Let's see. So I have upcoming. Well, you know what I will plug real quick is I just had the Meeseeks PI recollected in the Rick and Morty Double Deluxe Volume 5. It's Heart of Rickness and Meeseeks PI. So it's 2 stories and 1 big hardcover. It's super cool. Really proud of it.
Those
looks
deluxe editions
amazing.
that Oni puts out for this series
Yeah.
are very, very nice.
They're very nice. It's and seeing the art blown up to that size too. I'm like, oh wow, oh that's really cool. So that's one I would say. Check that out. I've got a just announced Rick and Morty tying into the Rick and Morty Universe series coming out in October. It's Rick and Morty Last Mort Standing. It's a battle royale of a bunch of Mortys fighting it out. That's all I can say right now. So that's coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing more Doughboys next year. I'm coloring a graphic novel. It's the second in the series of Maxwell Dark, which is a younger read. It's a middle grade reader's book or younger reader's book that is about a kid who fights monsters in nightmares. And the second one I've been working on, it's turning out really cool, and I think people are gonna like it. So yeah, so stuff for all ages, from the show your kids to the definitely do not, like Doughboys.
From the show your kids to the
Yes,
BR kids.
to the BR kid. There you go.
And so for people who want to learn more about you, who want to follow your work ongoing, what's the best way? How do you put out that information to the world?
Well, I'm on Blue Sky. I'm at Fred C. Stressing on Blue Sky. That's Stressing with one S. And it's the same for my Instagram, where I'll be posting things. A lot of my Doughboy stuff gets tagged on there. So you can see that too. That's also at Fred C. Stressing with one S. And yeah, in the middle, one S in the middle. So yeah, I'm around. You can find me on different places, and I'm popping around a lot of different podcasts lately too. So if you see me promote those, check them out. If you want to hear more from me.
Including you've gotten to be, of course, on the Doughboys podcast,
I
which
did
was
get to be on the Doughboys
so
podcast.
fun to get
It
to
was
hear
really
you on
fun.
that.
It was like a blast.
And Alex seems wild, man. Like he
yeah.
seems kind of unhinged.
No, he's great. He's great. Him on the podcast. I don't know if you listened to his double, but I really liked listening to his double, where they were just like going all in on some crazy concepts and comics. And the only thing that gets me about that podcast is every now and again I'll be listening to one, like about a week or so ago. They're talking about Popeye, and they're like, "Does he not have an eye?" And they're like, "He doesn't have teeth." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, yes, that's true." I want to jump in with comic stuff because that's me. I'm like,
The Popeye conversation was great, and an
yes,
active Wikipedia lookup on whether or not Popeye actually has two eyes,
yes.
whether or not, and it spun off into some really not safe for podcast, this podcast
Yeah.
discussion.
I one time Googled Popeye's age and was horrified because Google said 34, and I was like, what? And I posted this online, and Roger Langer has said, well, that's not necessarily true in all incarnations of it. And I was like, oh, you got like the insider knowledge of Popeye. You worked on the books.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun thing to see and go, 34, what? That's rough living on those highs.
And again, small world, but
Yeah.
Shadia Amin also worked on the
That's right.
Popeye online
Yes.
strip a couple of years ago, which was
She did.
pretty crazy.
That is
And
crazy.
then the I Lie Popeye, which has been coming out right now, which people have really enjoyed as a single issue Popeye story. So everything old is new again. And before we go, I just need to make sure that I get your fork score on today's podcast. So this doesn't have to be, this can be on like all your interactions with the podcast. Okay. It can be with just today.
Okay.
1 to 5 works, the drill.
Yeah, sure.
How would you rate this episode of the podcast?
This episode of the podcast, I'll give it 4.5 forks.
Just
Feels
outside of the Platinum Plate Club.
Well, you can bring it up. You can bring that average up.
You are absolutely right. There needs to be a little bit of room to grow, and I appreciate that so much. Fred Stressing, everybody. The book is Doughboys, the comic book. Mitch and Wiger to America, Crisis on Infinite Girths. It is a mouthful in more ways than one. Fred, I miss you. Thank you for all the support you've given the shop over the year, for the support you continue to do. Like it's super cool whenever we send a package up your way that we still get to be your neighborhood comic shop. It means a lot.
Appreciate it.
Neighborhood Comics Convo is a production of Neighborhood Comics in Savannah, Georgia. The show is hosted by me, Lee Heidel, and special thanks again to today's guest, Fred C. Stressing. Our theme song is provided by our friends in the band Ditka. The best way to support the show is to support the shop. You can do that right now by going to neighborhoodcomics.com and picking up something special. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time.